Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to explore the absolute awe-inspiring stories of species that we thought were completely, hopelessly lost to time, and how nature, and now science, are actually bringing them back. For centuries, when a species was declared extinct, well, that was it, the definitive end of the story, a biological closed door. But as we're about to see, nature has this uncanny ability to hide, and humanity is developing an unprecedented new ability to recreate.
Okay, picture this. Imagine the pure surprise of a 60-year-old fisherman casually pulling his net out of the ocean, only to find a catch that had supposedly been extinct for 66 million years. Now, instead of recognizing a profound scientific miracle, he probably just looked at it and thought, weird fish, right? But that single, seemingly ordinary moment actually completely shattered our understanding of extinction. It proved, without a doubt, that the natural world still holds massive secrets hiding right under our noses. Or, I guess in this case, hundreds of meters below the ocean surface.
So here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 4 stages. 1. Back from the dead. 2. Surviving against the odds. 3. Ancient relics rediscovered. And 4. Reversing extinction through science. All right, let's jump straight into part 1, Back from the Dead. Take the taha, for example, rediscovered in New Zealand in 1948. This is a 3-kilogram flightless bird with stunningly bright blue and green feathers. It was actually thought to have completely vanished in the late 1800s, but nope, it was found happily waddling through alpine grasslands, just feeding on grasses. Now contrast that bright, really bold reappearance with the night parrots of Australia, which was rediscovered in 2013 after nearly a century. This bird is highly mysterious, totally elusive, hiding out in remote desert grasslands. Because it's almost entirely active at night, it's incredibly difficult to photograph or even study. So you've got one bird making this grand, colorful entrance, and another that's barely a shadow in the night. But both of them are just monumental conservation success stories. Moving right along to Section 2, Surviving Against the Odds. 18, that is a wild, incredibly small number. It represents the exact count of surviving nesting pairs of the Bermuda petrel found in 1951. This species, also known as the kaha, had literally been declared extinct for over 300 years. Invasive rats and cats had almost completely wiped them out. But against all odds, these 18 pairs were found clinging to life on tiny rock islets in Castle Harbor, Bermuda, nesting deep down in underground burrows just to survive. Conservationists quickly stepped in, building artificial nest boxes to help them out. And today, thanks to those original 18 pairs, their numbers are actually slowly increasing. It's genuinely one of the greatest bird rediscoveries in history. Then you have the Lord Howe Island stick insect, which developed this bizarre cluster of traits to survive. Everyone thought they were wiped out by rats, but in 2001, they were found clinging to this harsh, tiny volcanic sea stack off the coast of Australia. Now they're nicknamed the tree lobster because they grow over 15 centimeters long, but despite looking like armored giants, they are incredibly gentle, just peacefully eating shrubs at night. But here's their ultimate survival trick. In some cases, the females can reproduce entirely without males. Talk about independent, right? But seriously, that incredible adaptation is exactly what allowed them to survive completely isolated on a barren rock in the middle of the ocean. Okay, on to Section 3, Ancient Relics Rediscovered. Look at this timeline. Modern history has just been steadily punctuated by the sudden, shocking reappearance of prehistoric life. We're talking the Coelacanth in 1938, the Chacoian peccary in the 1970s, right up to the Wemma pine in 1994. These aren't just animals that went missing a few decades ago. We're talking about organisms we previously only knew from ancient, dusty rock beds and fossil records. Finding them alive and well completely rewrites our understanding of biological endurance. 66 million years. Let's talk about that 1938 discovery. That Coelacanth broke an astonishing 66 million year gap in the fossil record. Remember our fisherman from the very beginning? Yeah, this is exactly what he caught. A 2-meter-long, deep ocean fish that completely shifted our understanding of land animal evolution. And why? Because the Coelacanth has these unique limb-like fins that it uses to move in an unusual, almost walking motion through the water. It is literally a swimming time capsule, giving us massive clues about how animals first crawled out of the sea. And hey, it isn't just animals pulling this trick. The botanical world was flipped completely upside down by the WMI pine, rediscovered in 1994. Before then, it was only known from 2-million-year-old fossils.
Nicknamed the dinosaur tree, this thing can live for hundreds of years, and its bark has this wildly distinctive texture that literally looks exactly like bubbling chocolate. Today, fewer than 100 mature trees remain in the wild, and their exact location in Australia is kept as a strict, highly classified secret. Seriously, no one is allowed to know, just to protect them from human interference.
And just to prove that monumental discoveries can happen anywhere, scientists were absolutely floored by the Laotian rock rash. Its entire family was believed to have disappeared 11 million years ago. So where did scientists finally find this living fossil? Not on some remote volcanic rock, but literally sitting in a local food market in Laos. No joke. This nocturnal rodent lives among limestone cliffs and looks like a bizarre cross between a squirrel and a rat. Finding it effectively closed an 11 million year gap in its family tree, making it one of the most surprising mammal discoveries we have ever recorded.
So, we're now crossing a major threshold. Hiding in nature versus recreated by science. Creatures like the Chacoan peccary survive simply by hiding. It lives in the harsh Gran Chaco of Paraguay, uses its tough skin to eat cactus spines with ease, and just totally managed to avoid us until the 1970s. However, our final subjects, they require active, intense human intervention and cutting-edge science to ever walk the earth again. Which brings us to our final frontier, Section 4, reversing extinction through science. Biotech companies are approaching this and, pardon the pun here, literally mammoth task by finding modern DNA proxies. Basically, this means using the genome of the closest living relative to act as a genetic base for an extinct animal. So for the woolly mammoth, which vanished about 4,000 years ago, that proxy is the Asian elephant. For the massive prehistoric direwolf that roamed North America 10,000 to 13,000 years ago, it's the modern gray wolf. Scientists are out there actively splicing ancient DNA from Ice Age giants with the genetics of these modern counterparts. It's mind-blowing stuff.
A prime example of this is the Dallas-based biotech company Colossal Biosciences. By utilizing some seriously advanced genetic engineering, they are using physical remains like thousands of fossils from the La Brea tar pits or DNA that's been perfectly preserved in the frozen tundra. And their goal? To work tirelessly to produce cold-adapted elephants and fierce prehistoric wolf pups. Now, to be clear, these won't be exact 100% pure genetic copies of the original animals, but they will look and act just like the ancient predators that once hunted bison and horses during the Ice Age. These pups and elephants represent the absolute closest thing we have to a true revival from extinction. So as we process all these massive breakthroughs in de-extinction, I really want to leave you with this final provocative thought. We have seen how nature can hide a species for millions of years, and now we're seeing how human ingenuity can piece a lost species back together from frozen fragments of DNA. But are we intellectually and ethically prepared for a world where extinction is no longer a permanent end? When we can simply build a proxy of a lost Ice Age giant, what does that mean for the future of wildlife conservation on Earth? It is a question that is absolutely going to define the next century of science. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.